Welcome to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Things.
And we're back, man. Episode 390.
Yes, sir.
We are so close to 400. We're about to set another milestone, man.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How many people do you know with 400 episodes? I can only speak to very few.
I know some people with 4 podcast episodes.
Yeah, we know a lot of those. they started when it was hot, then they just cooled right off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Not a whole lot of people. If you listen to this and you got 400 episodes, then I stand corrected. All right, let's get into it, man. Bud Crawford, Canelo Alvarez. Let's talk about it. Last night we watched an iconic fight. I think that the way it went with Bud, I'm not shocked. If Canelo would have won, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, that's how great both of them are. Mm-hmm. And it was, I told everybody, like, the first 5 rounds are not going to be entertaining. Like, they're just filling each other out. They respect each other way too much. So I'm already knowing that they're literally, it's just like a game of, it's like a game of chess or checkers, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're just like, testing out the distance, throwing the jab out there to see how much distance, trying to get the speed down, getting the timing down. And then once they see an opening, they're going to go for it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Crawford put a clinic on. Mm-hmm. He put a clinic on. He wasn't afraid of Canelo's power because Canelo, he's a heavy puncher, but like heavy puncher. Because Canelo caught him a little bit early. He caught him with a big shot right at the end of the round. Mm-hmm. And then Crawford was like, whoo, shit. Mm-hmm. But after that, man, he was just slipping punches. He was doing what he wanted to Canelo. Canelo was visibly frustrated. There was even a time where they started clinching and Canelo picked him up. Yeah. And I thought like he's just trying to use an intimidation factor. Mm-hmm. I mean, clearly Canelo is stronger than him and bigger than him. But this Bud, like, you got to understand Bud's origin story is just so wild that it's like this guy is not intimidated by anybody. Mm-hmm. Like his mom was getting all the neighborhood kids to try to beat up Bud, and she said, "I'll pay you $10 if you beat him," and nobody beat him. Yeah, this guy was fighting for his mother's love, man. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine feeling inadequate as a young man because your mom is not that he also mentioned his mom is not really that like affectionate towards him. Yeah. Like how a mother-son relationship would go. Yeah. And he has to tell her to tell him that she's proud of him. That's like, it's crazy. Have to tell her yeah. That's like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. There's like, it's almost like, it's like one of those old school dysfunctional relationships. Mm-hmm. A lot of men with their fathers, they have dysfunction. Like they'll be like, their dad has never hugged them. Mm-hmm. That's, oh my God, that's gotta hurt. Yeah. But those are the things, like, ironically, that probably, led him to be the fighter that he is. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yep. And Canelo, I think Canelo's breaking that generational curse on his side because his son was, like, crying. You see that? I think it was like a boxing, I don't know what it was on HBO or something, but his son was crying. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's okay. It's okay. Let it out. Cry. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. And he said, after you cry, just go get back in the ring. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dang. Yeah. Because I don't think Canelo was, offered that freedom. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he was offered that freedom, but he told his son, he was like, it's okay. That's definitely a good thing to do. Absolutely. My thing is this, as a man, there's nothing wrong with crying. Just do something about it. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say you get in a bad breakup or you get divorced. It's okay to cry. What are you going to do about it? You going to go hit the gym? Or are you going to work on yourself? Or what are you going to do? Yeah. Right? But let's not stray too far from the topic. Historical fight, respectable fight. Not to mention he gave Canelo the belts back at the end. You see that? Yeah, I think that's part of how it goes. Mm-hmm. There's some technicalities in boxing. Like he gets the belts because he won the belts, but I think there's like sanctioning bodies and stuff that those things go through, and I think that he gets the belts. I think the belts get sent to him later or something like that. Yeah, so he just handed them to him. Yeah, I thought it was also cool the interactions with the family. Like after they got up there, it was all respect, bro. They did a bad job of selling like they didn't like each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't even know if that was the narrative at all. They didn't. I don't think that was a thing. Yeah, it wasn't a thing. Yeah, they didn't. There was little inklings of that when they had like a panel discussion, and he was like, he ain't never fought a fighter like me, and he gonna find out. And he said, yeah. He's like, maybe you would find out. Who knows? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, but you finna find out. He's like, maybe you will find out. We will see. Like
Yeah.
it was just like little inklings of that, but you could tell they didn't have no issues with each other. It was just two extremely competitive fighters.
Yeah.
And at the end, when he handed him his belts back, his Canelo's I think it was his daughter, like she high fived freaking Bud Crawford, and then Bud shook Canelo's wife's hand, and I was like, bro, this is like a gentleman's club right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think with one of the most important things that Bud said after the fight was, he said he was just happy that, I'm able to go home to spend time with my wife and my family, and the same thing, for Canelo. So they both left the ring healthy and whatnot. And I think that's, I mean, like you said, at that level, that's kind of what you want. I'm not a person that's wanting to see, like, I want to see a competitive fight, and you're hoping for a knockout, but at the end of the day, you don't want to see nobody going home in a stretcher or
Absolutely.
like that. So I think that was a beautiful thing. I think Bud, he did what a lot of people, I think it was 50-50. There was some people that thought, going into the fight that Canelo was too big. They thought that he was the person that has been fighting at 168 for, a longer amount of time, and he has like a wider frame. So they felt like he was going to be just too big for Crawford. But a lot of people thought that Crawford was just a more sound, quicker boxer, more light on his feet, things like that. So they were just trying to figure out, like, how is this going to play out in the ring? And then we found out that, he was able to take Canelo's punches. So that's when we kind of realized that it was going to be a long night for Canelo. And you could tell, like you were saying, like Canelo was getting frustrated in there because Crawford was blocking a lot of those shots. He was catching a lot of those hooks that Canelo was throwing, with his mitts. And, Canelo was kind of loading up on a lot of those shots. So,
big shots.
And usually what happens with Canelo is some of the smaller, faster fighters, they look good in the early rounds. Sometimes like guys like Amir Khan, who's like extremely fast, like he'll get in there and he'll look really good throwing like combinations and stuff like that. And then Canelo will just start getting the timing right, and then that's when Canelo would come with a counter punch and then just lay some of these dudes down.
Boom, a big shot.
But Crawford was he kept moving. He kept throwing that jab, doubling up on the jab. He was, throwing nice hooks and uppercuts, and he just had an arsenal of punches that he was throwing at Canelo, and Canelo could never really catch that rhythm. And I think as the fight went on, Crawford just started to look better and better. Yeah, and then it was in that sixth round that he came in there and he realized that the fight was, I think he lost the fifth round, and Canelo started to catch some momentum. And then Crawford came in there and he made a concerted effort to stand in front of him and just go toe to toe and just throwing like, all kind of different combos.
Yeah. Yeah, he fought in a way that no one can have any smoke for him. Like they can say, "Oh, he ran like Floyd." There's people saying that Floyd ran. You can't say that. He stood in front of him a majority of the fight. Also, too, there was a part in the fight where Max Kellerman pointed out, because he was like getting his distance. He was like throwing you see when he's throwing those jabs, right? Mm-hmm. And he was just kind of like just tapping him. Mm-hmm. He said him just tapping him like that's just the ultimate disrespect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said if a guy's just tapping you, then he just doesn't he just knows he's just got too much confidence. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man.
Yeah. I think the production was really good as well. Like, one thing I liked about it, I thought Bud's entrance was a little off.
Yeah, it was.
Because he had the Rock guys playing, and then it just transitioned into that
it was like
that Spanish song.
Yeah.
And I understood the Spanish song because you got to think he's going in there as a very pro, and he said it was like a Desperado theme or something like that he was kind of going with. That's why he had the guitar and the case and stuff like that, and that's why his uniform looked like that. So I thought that was fire. Yeah. But just the transition from the rock to the Spanish music was, I don't know if that's part of the movie. I never really seen the movie before, but overall I thought the production value was dope. I thought his uniform and his jacket was clean. Yeah. I thought Canelo always
his shit was fresh. It was a Mary.
Yeah, Canelo always looks his stuff always looks really good. So yeah, he always has that. He always has those name brands on there when he
he had it was a Canelo Alvarez his logo, but it was like a Mary. And I was like, damn, like this dude, like he just looked rich.
Yeah, and what Terrence Crawford had the off-white gloves, which I thought was fire.
Oh yeah,
off-white. They do the Nikes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so that was fire.
Yeah, what did he have his last fight? Didn't he have like I forgot what he had, but he had like a cape.
It was like a fishnet thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was like
Everlast. Yeah,
I was I remember that. I remember that fight where freaking Deontay Wilder lost and he had that heavy ass mask on and shit.
Yeah, he blamed it on
and he blamed it on that. Like, dude, that is not okay.
That's what I got much respect for Canelo, and I think that Canelo losing
means nothing to me.
Yeah, when we're talking about Canelo lost 3 times, he lost to Bivol, who was just a much bigger fighter, who kind of and he was much taller too.
Yeah,
and he kind of just boxed him, and that's
Floyd.
why he won. He lost to Floyd when he was 23 years old. Floyd is just one of the all-time greats, and then we got Crawford, who's up there in that all-time great conversation as well. So it's like ain't nobody else really touching. You see what he did to Charlo. Like anybody else that's not one of those guys, like not minus Bivol. I think Bivol is just kind of like a guy, but he was just much bigger. But anybody else, like don't think that you can get in there and do what Bud did.
Absolutely,
you're not really built like that.
No, you're not built like that. Also, too, like everybody's.
Before you go, what I was gonna say is that Canelo lost respectably. He didn't blame it on nothing. He didn't say, "Oh, I was drained before the fight." He went in there and he said, "I gave my best effort and I'm still a winner after this fight."
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he mentioned this. He said he didn't have an answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
He just said, "I didn't have an answer for it." He's like, "My body just didn't respond," and that was it. That's not an excuse.
Yeah,
he just couldn't get his. That's where the frustration came from. When you're always in control and now you're not in control, that has to be frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think that one part of boxing that a lot of people may not, or trainers may not emphasize on, I'm not sure, is controlling your body language. You don't want to let that guy know you're frustrated.
Yeah.
And I think that once I seen he was visibly frustrated, I was like, yeah, I don't know how good the outcome looks for Canelo now. Because now when you're fighting frustrated, you can become desperate, and you don't want to do that, especially against a guy like Bud. Bud he's a boxing nerd. He's waiting, and he's highly intelligent.
Yeah.
But on another note, before we wrap it up, I will say it was not only a respectable fight. Nobody left beat up. Canelo had like little bruises, nothing crazy. But that's the thing, man. That's how you win. That's how everybody wins. Is when you could go home and your wife and kids, you still look like their dad.
Yeah.
Man, I've seen some fights so bad where after the fight, the daughter or the son of the fighter is just crying because their dad is just so beat up.
Right.
Like mutated. I seen a UFC fight. I can't remember who it was, but her head fucking swole up so bad. She had a hematoma. Like the side of her head was just it looked like somebody hit her with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a good thing. I think me as a boxing fan, I definitely want to see somebody hit the canvas. That just adds to the excitement. But yeah, I think 2 high level fighters like that, that's generally how it goes. One thing that I will say about the production too, I was kind of glad they didn't do the national anthem. Like the fighters play, I think the intro music was a little long. It was a little long for my liking. But it's a big thing. I think what happens is that part of it doesn't really translate to the TV well, like when we're just kind of sitting around watching musicians. But probably in the stadium with 77,000 people, and shout out to them, they had like the highest capacity of an Allegiant Stadium event ever, so shout out to them for that. But the music is playing a long time, and then they finally come down and walk down, and it's a long walk too because they're in that big old arena. That was the only thing, but I did like that they didn't do the national anthem, and not because I don't love America, mostly because I feel like a lot of times it just prolongs the beginning of the fight.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that they do before events, but they don't do it before all events, So I think I think that was an interesting thing. And then they have to do 2 because Canelo is from Mexico too. So I thought that was fire. But just the aesthetic of it, like the way that the outside of the arena, like the little lip around the arena, it was like lit up and I don't know if that's like a projector or if that's like some digital screen they got going on. I just thought the way the arena looked was really dope.
I thought it was dope. The little sounds they made, like they made the little Netflix like ding. Whenever he punched Canelo, it was like dun dun.
That's funny.
Nah, they didn't.
But yeah, shout out to Netflix. This time it actually worked well. There was only one point where my sound had cut off, and I was like, oh no, here we go again. But I think it was right during Canelo's introduction it had cut off. But outside of that, it was a smooth thing, and I think it's dope that we have these fights because they're the Turkey Al-Sheikh dude, and Dana White, and I think the other guy from WWE. They've come together, and they said that they just want people to have access to boxing matches, right? Mm-hmm. And they want the best to fight the best. And I think if we have more of these fights on Netflix, it's just easier, and I think the pay-per-view era was dope. But, when they talked about like back in the 70s and stuff like that, when our parents, probably more so our grandparents was coming up, they were watching these fights on TV.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
NBA too.
Being able to watch Muhammad Ali and these guys on regular TV.
Mm-hmm.
Just when they had like 5 channels and they was just flipping through the channels like that. So I think this is that modern version of that because everybody has access to Netflix, and Netflix has a bag, and Turkey Al-Sheikh got a bag, and if they keep putting on these big fights like that, I think it will be dope. So shout out to them for putting on a accessible, and we ain't got to pay $90 to
ridiculous
to watch the.
I'm gonna tell you something though. This Netflix thing seems great, right? We're all so happy that we get to watch the fight. However, it's gonna be a little different in the future. I can see Netflix costing $35 now.
Oh, I mean, the price is going to continually go up.
It's going to go. I'm just saying that these services that are being provided, here's what's going to happen. Either Netflix is going to keep a fixed rate like always, and then there's going to be a separate tab on Netflix to stream the fight for like $5.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see instead of it being free next time, there's going to be like streaming on Netflix, and it's like a tab to add to your bill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I hope not. That's kind of why he was promoting it in that way. I mean, things do change. I'm not holding nobody to what they said, but
yeah,
I do hope it is just what it is. I think the problem with Netflix that most other streaming services don't really have is that Netflix only sells Netflix.
Yeah.
So when you have Apple TV, they sell phones and computers and stuff like that. And they try to keep. I imagine they would keep every sector sustainable, so they're not pouring in a bunch of money from over here to over here. But Netflix doesn't have, but they're also the biggest streaming company, so they don't really necessarily need anything. Everybody is playing catch up to them when it comes to streaming.
Can you imagine this though? Can you imagine Netflix actually getting in the phone game and selling a cinema style phone? It's the closest. It'll be the closest thing to a cinema shooting phone. Mm-hmm. That'd be fun.
Like recording or watching?
Like recording.
Oh, I don't think they would do that. They're so late in the game. Mm-hmm. Like we got Black Magic.
Yeah, we
got like Sony. I don't got my camera here, but Sony cameras. You got Lumix. You got Ari. Ari is what they shoot most of the most of the films on. You got Red cameras. Like they could do it. It would just be a lot of what do you call it, research and development because they're so late in that.
What, just in the phone or what?
Yeah, it would be the same thing as like somebody just starting a clothing line now. You know what I mean? Like it's just so many clothing lines, it's super competitive.
You can't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if they did offer like a device where you could just watch they stuff, I think that would be a little bit different.
What can Netflix get involved in? Like I'm thinking, like you never want to shortchange what people can do because you never know. Did you know that in Los Angeles, Skechers has one of their locations, the warehouse, it has a restaurant. It's a Skechers restaurant.
Yeah. That's what I mean. We talked about the physical what do you call that?
The physical,
the
like a
theaters.
Netflix theater. And
Yeah.
I talked about that. That was in 2018. I was like Keith, man, can you imagine they come out with a Netflix theater where instead of like, debuting a debut film, debuting a film on Netflix, they could do it in their own theater.
The reason they need to do that is because people still, like, when's the last time you've been to the movies?
A few months back.
Yeah. That's still relatively recent because it ain't a lot of, big movies that come out.
Right.
I go to the movies probably like 3 times a month. You know what I mean?
Dang.
So if
Movie ass nigga.
they have, because they have, I think the next one they got coming out, and they do short stints. Like sometimes they'll release the movie in theaters for like a week or two, and then they'll swing it to Netflix. But the next one they have is like this Matt Damon and Ben Affleck movie that's coming out. They're like cops or something like that.
Yeah.
I think because we like that movie experience, I do know that they're like, they kind of present themselves as like the home theater experience.
Right.
But like you said, if they had like a physical store, maybe you pay a little bit extra because they have the memberships at theaters now. Like if you pay $20 a month, you get like 2 free tickets or something. I'm not 2 free tickets, but you get to go to the movies for, twice a month or something. And you save a little bit of money. So if you have that type of like the Netflix cinema experience
Absolutely.
for $20 more, and you could go in there and then they could run movies literally all day.
Absolutely. Like Netflix branded. Instead of like IMAX or something else, it'd be like Netflix branded.
Yeah, for sure. Straight Netflix. And they have enough catalog to just always be running.
Fuck.
And that's just enough. That's just extra bread. And they don't have to do anything outside of just set up the theater and run it.
I got one for you right here. With the shows so popular, such as like Stranger Things, there could be literally every episode.
100%.
But hold on. Every episode either could be available there or they show everyone except for the very last one on actual Netflix. And they say for early access to this episode, you can come to our Netflix theater to watch it.
Yeah.
And it would drive so many people to the theaters.
Because those are cinematic shows. Like
Absolutely.
You're talking about Stranger Things. You're talking about Game of Thrones. Like,
yes.
These are things are shows that people watch at home. But if like they're I'm sure they shot with that in mind, but they're trying to make like cinema,
yes,
in a TV show. So I don't know why. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. Even if HBO doesn't have probably HBO has a lot of shows, so I wouldn't say that. Yes. But any of the streaming services, if they decided to do it, would be fine.
I would say it's probably like the most cinematic show is Stranger Things. I could see Stranger Things as just a film.
Yeah.
On its own. But I think in order to drive people to the theater, they could show every episode, obviously, on Netflix, but for early access to that final finale episode of Stranger Things, if they put that in Netflix branded theaters itself or in like a non-branded theater and had it like IMAX instead of like Netflix, that shit would be nuts. Like we're talking like lines around the freaking
yeah. Because they do it like you could even do it where because I think AMC had recently sold or something like that. So if they just it's so many theaters like if they just bought like a brand that's trying to get out of the business.
I got it right here. Stranger Things is supposed to be based in the 80s. This is just one show, but I think that overall, just the most nostalgic thing that none of us do anymore, and there's hardly none available in the United States, is drive-in theaters. If you had Stranger Things on a drive-in theater on a massive screen, oh my God.
This is the thing, like, when it comes to business, I think I would say more so entertainment. I think the new thing is to provide an experience, like a tangible experience, right? So that we're not just watching our phones or not just watching the screen.
You go.
So I think that would be fire. Like to be like, yo, we are bringing back the 80s in a different way. Pull up to this probably like big, it could even do it big cities like LA, New York, Houston, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then just rent a big lot and then just had a thing, and you know how they used to do it back in the day.
There's very few, but there are already existing drive-in theaters that have not been occupied or used for over 20 years. Like, people don't realize this. Bakersfield had one of the biggest drive-in theaters. I remember it back in the 90s. It was called the Crest. It was right over there it was near the Auto Mall. And I don't know if you remember it, do you?
No, I don't remember the Crest.
Ask your mom or, somebody else a little older. But
what year was it?
It was just like 1997.
Oh, well, my mom, they grew up
out there.
Yeah,
okay.
Tulare, so.
But yeah, the Crest, it was a massive screen. And the Crest probably had been around since probably the 40s. It was around a long time. So if you occupy that space and Netflix takes that space and and turns it into their own thing, I think that would be super dope. And then you could use a channel in your car. Hey, turn to channel X, whatever.
Yeah, to get the
audio feed.
They're doing this is slightly different, but kind of the same realm. This movie called The Long Walk. It's a movie about these kids that are in some sort of I don't call it a contest, but a do or die situation where you have to maintain a walking speed of 3 miles per hour for as long as you can, and then anybody that doesn't, if they fall below that mile per hour, then they die, they get killed, and then the last one survives, kind of thing. It's based off of a Stephen King book.
Holy shit!
So it just dropped this past week, but what they're doing is they're doing a theater experience where they're putting a bunch of treadmills in the theater.
Holy shit.
So you have to walk 3 miles per hour while you're watching the movie, and anybody that if they fall off the speed or whatever, then they get dismissed from the theater.
Holy shit.
I thought that was a fire concept because it just brings it makes it real. It makes it tangible.
You're a part of the film.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that's I think that's the new level of entertainment.
Is that safe to say that's fat phobic?
Yeah. Say so. You probably
You can't walk 3 miles an hour. You cannot come in here.
You probably walking 3 miles per hour for the movie, probably 2 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah. I think the standing would probably be the most difficult part. Standing for 2 hours is, that would
that'd
be
be crazy.
But yeah.
That's crazy. I think that's super crazy. That's super dope. But I think that there's and we'll move on here in a second. But there's theaters that have these I forgot what they call them. They have smells in there as well. There's certain theaters
that they 4D. Cinema 4D in LA. They do stuff like that, like little mist and water and stuff like that.
Yeah. Can you imagine they did that with porn?
Oh dang.
That'd be nuts. Literally.
Straight smelled. Straight sweaty balls in the theater.
You imagine you watching the video and then all of a sudden he smacked the ass and you sitting in the chair and now you getting smacked. Man, what the fuck is this, man?
Hey, is that theater still open here? It was
What?
the P9 theater.
Oh, porn theater?
Yeah.
No, I think they closed that back in the day.
I wonder if that spot is still open though. Because that would be dope to
That's
just
have a little. That would be a cool place to have maybe a live podcast or to have a screening for you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
That'd be a screen. That'd be a dope place to screening.
Yeah.
I think first of all, it'd be a dope place to have a screening and just that movie that you made a few years ago. You guys just have a screening again.
Yeah, that would be fire.
It's nothing against the law to have another screening for the film.
100%.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I have another short film that I need to finish that I could put up there as well.
That'd be super cool. There's nothing wrong with asking questions too, because it doesn't mean that place got shut down. They probably have seats and everything in there.
It's probably just not,
occupied.
It's probably just locks on the door and, it's a bunch of dust in there. But
Lots of old jizz in there.
Yeah,
it's
probably a lot of cum in there.
Yeah, it's just Prius. It's prohibition cum in there.
It's a coming of age movie.
A lot of elderly cum in there. Jeez, because somebody's not gonna just go there and watch a film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I heard. I ain't never been in there, but I heard the old men used to go in there and jack off.
That's got to be a terrible. That's got to be I don't even know how we would have something like that.
I think
in the first place,
right? But that's the crazy part because that used to be a thing. I know, but what confirmed my suspicion of that whole porn theater thing was a teacher was telling me that he was driving some of the golf players home, and he was like, that's around the time when like the phones and the porn on the internet kind of like it was like the perfect synergy. It was like so super accessible. And he was like, yeah, he was like, I couldn't tell for sure, but it just, I had a feeling that like all the kids were in the back watching porn, you know, on Pornhub or whatever.
Wow.
And he was, yeah, so he kind of had that suspicion. But I was like, you got like 4 or 5 teenagers just like,
watching.
Like me and you right here sitting next to each
And
other. I'm watching like, you know, whatever, you know, big booty white girls, and you watching MILFs or something. It's like, that's weird. That's weird.
It's bad because back when I was a kid, we didn't even have any of that. We just had like magazines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We come from different or dial-up internet.
Yeah, you might bring the magazine in your backpack to school and be like, "Hey, look what I got."
Yeah, and it was always the bad kid that always got kicked out of class. He always had the magazine pornos.
Yeah, pages was sticky.
Yep, all we had to do was blame him for everything. He's like, man, it's not right. You keep kicking me out of class. And he was looking at it too. I'm like, all right, motherfucker, don't put me in this.
It was funny.
All right,
but yeah, shout out to Canelo, shout out to Crawford.
Yeah,
they made a lot of money, so I'm just happy that, you know, everybody went home safe.
absolutely, because it could totally be different otherwise. Yep. All right, switching gears. Charlie Kirk. I think this is probably one of the biggest trending topics that are out right now. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was a right-wing political pundit, I guess you can say, and he had a lot of strong opinions. What?
Most people call him like a content creator.
He's a content creator, but he was basically a political pundit, in my opinion, simply because it's no different than calling low-key Charlemagne almost. He's not a political pundit, but he's right there.
Yeah.
You know, him, like when I think of like a political pundit, I would say like, you know, Tommy Lauren, Candace Owens, freaking Charlie Kirk, low-key Charlemagne, Amanda Seales, Ebony K. Williams, people like that. You know, I would, you know, Jasmine Crockett, but Jasmine Crockett is like legitimately involved. But yeah, man, he passed away. He was shot during one of his presentations that he had over at the college. And here's my thing. I'll start it off with this. Instead of like using internet conversations or rhetoric, I want y'all to kind of decide on what you think about him, because there's a lot of things swirling around. There's a lot of people that saying like he was, you know, he was a Christian man and he was about his faith and this and that. But there's a lot of narratives that's swirling around about him, and I think the two things are very true. He had the right to say what he wanted to say, but people also have the right to use their freedom of speech to counteract what he said. Because he did say some shit that, you know, that was definitely not okay. And I think it's also true that you don't have to act like you love somebody just because they passed away. I think, for example, after George Floyd died, Charlie Kirk called him a scumbag and said that and made a statement or a claim that George Floyd did not die from strangulation. He died from a drug overdose, is what he claimed.
I think I'll let you finish, and I want you to forget your thought. But I always found those arguments weird because it almost like you're almost apologizing for a police officer murdering. One, he got convicted. So I don't know what there is to argue about. But I don't think that any black people are like arguing over like
if he was a good person.
Yeah, George Floyd is. We're just like, yo, like why was that force necessary? And that force did lead to him dying.
Yes.
So I just don't. I never understood the argument like why somebody would try to. Was it Derek Chauvin?
Derek Chauvin. Yeah.
Yeah, Derek Chauvin. Like, I just don't understand.
And
why
he also made a claim. He also made a claim that he felt that Chauvin should have been pardoned, which I think is a wild thing to say. And this is my thing. And I want to put these two things together. If Charlie Kirk can make that statement and that claim about George Floyd, then we can also review his life. He is fair game now, okay? I'm not saying you should be able to. I didn't like the fact that people were celebrating his death. I don't believe in that.
That's the precedent he set.
That's the precedent he set, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I personally don't believe in celebrating or dancing on someone's grave because I've seen a lot of death, and that death don't work the way you think it works. You could be on the internet like, yeah, they got his ass, yay, and all of a sudden niggas is telling your mama rest in peace the next 2 days. So you don't.
That's the way the world works.
That's the way the world works. You don't ever want to get too comfortable doing that. There's a lot of right and left hypocrisy. Some of the liberal hypocrisy is, you dancing on this man's grave while also screaming peace in Gaza, right? So if you're against gun violence and you are speaking about there needs to be, stricter gun laws and things of that nature, and then this man gets shot and you celebrating it, you're going against your own point, right? And people on the right that were speaking about, especially Charlie Kirk mentioned, if there has to be a few casualties every year from gun violence, I'm fine with that if that means we could keep our Second Amendment rights, right? So that's what he stood on, and he ended up being a victim of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, man. But what I want to do is this. Instead of sitting here exhausting too much time just, giving our opinion, I want to run down some of the things he said. Now, let me be clear. Since I'm a very objective person, I've listened to Charlie Kirk make some good points that I agree with. But see, I'm the type of person that even if I'm not a fan of someone, I can look at something they say and be like, you know what, that's actually a good point. But he's had a lot of very shit takes. He's had some bad shit takes that were coming off as very racist. However, instead of me calling him a racist, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play these videos, and you can make that determination for yourself. Video number 1.
We're a truth-seeking show, but I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really
He's speaking of Martin Luther King.
Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
We're trying to get the officer who murdered George Floyd pardoned, and I just want to know what your reasoning was about that.
Well, George Floyd didn't die because of the police officer. He died largely because of a drug overdose.
But he had his knee on his neck, and we all saw the video.
You're going to remove my appendix, and you're a black lesbian. See a black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman. I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? Thomas Sowell and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King. Period. End of story. This guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really hard. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52. Shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been
that affected
in the last 80 years.
Is
in Leviticus 18 is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. So, Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters. The first part is absolutely true. Let's go to this. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies.
All right. Let's click another random one. It ain't going to take too long on this.
At least give Trump... Oh, it's Juneteenth. What exactly is going on here? Well, very few people are willing to actually call this out. From the first time that this was floated as a federal holiday, I am thankful and proud to say on this program we opposed it. This is not about out of many one. No, it's about a certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration, the exact same thing that happens before NFL games where they play the black national anthem. This recognition of this as a quote-unquote federal holiday comes right out of the 1619 Project. Look who's most excited that this is a federal holiday. And they're not talking about this as a massive celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Now we have a full day to be able to smear and slander white America. This holiday is a wedge, and I put in quotes, holiday is a wedge, used to push for countless destructive policies demanded by BLM. And remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder. Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday is a nationalized race.
Yeah. So look, man. Yeah. I just played that.
He said that he was going to work on Juneteenth too.
Yeah, he said I'm going to work on Juneteenth. Here's a problem. Okay. When you do this, you have to be aware of it. As two podcasters who've been doing this shit nearly 8 years, I think that you have to be aware of your messaging. So when it comes to DEI, what I didn't respect about this guy is he spoke to symptoms, not the cause. Let me give you like a medical comparison. If you go in and they find some type of, I don't know, some type of disease or virus or whatever, they want to find the cause. What's the root cause? Do you have a family history of this? Where do you work? What kind of work do you do? Are you around chemicals? Whatever the case. There's a line of questioning to find the root cause. This guy was stuck on the symptom. You're talking about DEI. DEI exists for a reason. It exists because black people were not being given, black people or people.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not even only black people.
Yeah, it's
women as well.
It's women in all cases. It's diversity. Equity and inclusion exists for a reason. The root cause is because people were not getting their just due. They were not getting hired. They were being discriminated against. So instead of speaking of the cause, you beat down the symptom. And the people that listen to that programming, you're affirming their beliefs. You're not giving them information. You're only giving them affirmation. So what happens is when they listen to guys like Charlie Kirk, you can galvanize the wrong group of people to where they even start feeling like they're victims of something when you're not. So I feel like that's destructive personally.
I think also the thing with DEI as well is it's not about giving some African-American guy what 1.9 GPA that just graduated college a job just because he's black.
Yeah.
Like that's not how it works.
I wouldn't agree with that.
The idea is that you give somebody, if James and DeAndre have 3.0s and they both graduated Yale, when they go into that job interview, they have an equal opportunity to get said job.
Absolutely.
It's not, to hire this person who's a lesser than and, just hire them because they're black or Mexican or Indian or whatever. That's not how it works. And then he quoted, I forget who, she might have been a senator, congressman, I forget who she was. But she mentioned that. She was like, I'm a DEI
Yeah, he
hire.
mocked her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's so ignorant because there are a lot of qualified individuals, even in our school district. There was a push for diversity because it was mostly white people that were the teachers, right? And then now there's much more diversity in these schools, meaning that there's much more black teachers, and there's a lot of Hispanic teachers already just because there's a lot of Hispanic people that live
California
in our city.
as well.
But I'm just only talking about our high school district.
Right.
But just, for us, that's, and these are qualified people. They all have you have to have the qualification to
Absolutely.
get the job. You have to have a teaching credential to teach. So I just think that, that's what it's designed for, to affect change in an area where people like myself won't have to, keep running circles and putting in 500 job applications.
Absolutely.
And I can only speak from my experience. I was overqualified for a ton of jobs. And there's jobs that I just got denied for, just whatever. There's jobs that I went in and interviewed, and mind you, like, I have a degree in many of these areas when it comes to like, video production and things like that. And I went to a lot of jobs, and for whatever reason, I didn't get them. There's been times where I went into a job interview, and mind you, my name is Keith. So who knows what that looks like if you're just looking at the paper, right?
Sounds racially ambiguous.
Yeah, if I go in there and the guy pulls out his notes, and then, has his notes ready, I would say. And then when I'm actually talking to him, he don't take down no notes.
Yeah.
And the interview lasts 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. What would you do in this scenario? What would you do in that? All right, cool. We have a couple more interviews, we'll let you know. Right. So that's what, this is what DEI is for people like myself, people like Eddie that are extremely qualified for sectors of, work in this world, and we can, in America, and we can actually get these jobs because we're qualified for them, overqualified for them.
Not only that, the Rooney Rule in NFL exists for that reason. Mm-hmm. For black applicants that they were consistently denied. There's things set in place where you have to interview X amount of black applicants. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you should hire somebody that's underwhelming or whatnot, but the same way people on the right feel about the talking point of like defund the police, they don't like how that sounds. We don't like how DEI sounds. Mm-hmm. DEI got us sounding out like we're a bunch of uneducated, underdeveloped people that are looking for a fucking handout, and that's disrespectful.
I don't even think it's that. It's just 3 words. You know what I mean? I think that the connotation is put on there by the right. I don't. To me personally, I don't look at it as a bad thing. It's just 3 words.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's an acronym, but at the same time, I think that the way they look at defund the police is how we look at DEI. Because as a black person, what can you do to not be accused of DEI? If I go to a place and it's literally an all-white staff there, and I go apply because it seems it's a good company, and they get me in there, they can say, "Oh yeah, that's our DEI hire," and it's like, DEI hire? Who the fuck are you talking to?
But that's what I'm saying. It's not a conversation we're having. It's a conversation that they're having because maybe it makes them feel uncomfortable.
I don't know. I don't really give a fuck. I think personally, it's literally, if you're anything else than the status quo, you can be accused of something like that, and I think it's bullshit. And regardless of who's having the conversation, it's completely an unfair thing. And can you imagine being in a space where you work a professional job, whether you work, I don't know, as a pilot. He mentioned he didn't feel safe around black pilots because he said, "Are you really qualified, or you just got that? You became a pilot because you were black?" And I'm just like, dude.
But I think if you're secure with yourself, like it's just fodder. Like I can say almost like with 100% certainty that when I got accepted to Iowa State, and mind you, Iowa State at the time was like the number 13 architecture school in the country, and my GPA was like 2.1 or something like that coming out of junior college. I know that it was only like 5% black students on that campus, so I can almost guarantee that I got accepted because I was black. But I'm also like really good. You know what I mean? Like I went there and I was able to thrive. I just had my GPA just didn't align with my capabilities. Mm-hmm.
But you made it work, and you became who you were supposed to be.
But I'm not. What I'm saying is like I don't care. Like if somebody calls me DEI, like acceptance, like I still was able to go there, and eventually it didn't work out, but I still have my degree. Absolutely.
But the overall conversation is dangerous. Because there's a certain amount of people that you galvanize with that conversation. When you mention things such as, I don't trust black pilots, you're going to start, people can't think for themselves. We live in a time where this happens on the left and the right. The liberal and conservative media has been spreading divisive messaging for over a decade, especially since like 2015, it's gotten really bad. Mm-hmm. There is some dangerous messaging on the left and on the right. Mm-hmm. But as far as the DEI shit, there's a bunch of people on the right that are like, you know what, honestly, I don't feel guilty about it. I don't trust black pilots, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And it's like, who the fuck do you think you are? He also mentioned he didn't trust like black surgeons. So he's like, if I meet a black lesbian going to do surgery on me, I don't know if I trust that. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that it doesn't make, it's just stupid. Yeah, that's why I'm like, crazy. It's not even like, to me, it's like, it's not even worth losing sleep over some of the stuff he was saying.
Yeah.
You just have to think, like, how difficult is it to become a doctor?
This is very.
Right?
Very difficult.
For somebody to just, and there's a lot of bad doctors out there.
Yes, there is.
I'm not even saying that.
And they still had to be good.
And they still had to be like 8 years worth of average or whatever that is to become that. So
absolutely. And the thing about it is just I don't these
but sorry to cut you off. Yeah. But then also you don't have to go to that surgeon.
No,
it's
you
not
don't.
like, and God forbid, I would be curious to know what the ethnicity of the person was that tended to him whenever he was, going through,
I think I can't think in the mind of someone who would have a thought process of that way. Mm-hmm. It's almost like having all these takes about women, right? Like, oh, these fucking women. A woman's job is to be in the kitchen and to tend to her house, right? Whatever the case, right? Just one of those very outdated, antiquated thought processes. And then all of a sudden you have to go to the hospital for life-saving efforts. And it's the chances of a woman saving your life are about 80%. Because the nurses, that's overwhelmingly female, and the other staff are overwhelmingly female, as well as a lot of the EMTs as well. So you can have that take, but then it gets drowned out by reality. And reality is that there is a ton. I don't need to sit here and plead a case that there's a lot of highly intelligent black people. Keith, what you got, 2 degrees?
I have 1.
You have 1. Mm-hmm. My sister's working on her doctorate. I have a lot of people in my family.
My wife has her master's.
His wife has her master's. So when I'm surrounded by a bunch of intelligent black people that are professionals, and I gotta open this crap up and listen to Charlie Kirk talk about he's afraid that there's a black pilot that's not qualified, do you understand how my brain works when I hear this? I'm not saying that.
Have you heard of the Tuskegee Airmen?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So look, man, whenever you're me and you have to hear these things, that's a problem. I just want you guys to know that. I'm not trying to say you should not be empathetic towards Charlie Kirk because he meant a lot to a lot of people. But my thing is this, like, it's almost like the way we felt about Nipsey when he passed. Some people look at him like Nipsey, like he didn't reach his full potential. A lot of people felt that Charlie Kirk was going to be the next president. You know what I'm saying? So I empathize with that, but there's a lot of things that I just don't respect.
That's the hard part, though, because as much as Nipsey was a gang member, rolling 60s and stuff like that, he has had the ability to say, I've talked to Schoolboy Q, and we've had conversations behind the scenes about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Which is essentially like that would be like the equivalent of Charlie Kirk, like sitting down and having a decent conversation with a liberal without saying like disparaging things about liberals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think the hard part for me, though, you can tell when you're talking to someone that doesn't really have the experience of talking, the experience of being with the community,
right? And
their job is just to talk about them.
That's a problem.
Right?
Yeah.
So Charlie Kirk can have his opinions about black people or DEI hires or whatever the case may be. But, just by listening to him, you can tell that he don't have no black people around him at all.
No.
Because even if you had your coworker or, maybe, you just ran into me or Eddie or, anybody, we're talking about people that have, I'm not going to say like benefited from DI because we just don't really know.
Yeah.
But, people that could, be said to have benefited from, some sort of like equity inclusion or whatever the case may be, and have been able to thrive and be really good at our professions. And if you were to sit down and, to talk to somebody like that, you would realize like it's not like that. It's not designed for people that are unqualified to just show up to work and just be sitting there like, duh.
But I think for a person who's supposed to be educated, I think it's very short-sighted and irresponsible to provide your listeners with a very cut-off version of what it means to, of what DEI is or whatever. I think it's willful, not only willful ignorance, it's willful lack of information. Like you're not providing information on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think that's dangerous. Because what it is when you're a person that even comes off as intelligent, people don't proof check the things you say. They just say, oh, that guy's smart. I believe what he says. And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. Another one like that is Ben Shapiro. And Ben and Kirk has something in common where they talked about they didn't believe rape was an excuse not to have a child. And I thought that was disgusting. And one of the women had asked if you had a 10-year-old daughter that was in that situation, would you still expect her to have a child? He said, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That's weird. I'm not going to let you off the hook. That's not even pro-life. That's pro-fool. Because a woman has to deal, not only, it's bad enough like when women have maybe have an issue with their child's father. That's one thing. But even that, it was consensual. They had relations with their child's father, and even if they don't like him after the fact, it was consensual, and they both wanted to do it. But imagine a monster that forced himself on a woman, and she's not even a woman at that age. She's probably 12, 13 years of age, and you expect her to have a child and keep that child. It's one thing to have post-traumatic trauma, but it's another to be looking in the face of the trauma every day. That is your child. That child is representative of a monster that forced themselves on you, and now you're supposed to have them because Charlie Kirk said so. This is just ignorant shit, man. And I feel like this. The reason why I could have these conversations, because I feel like they're good faith conversations. If he can talk about George Floyd's life and George Floyd's criminal record, I'm not here to paint George Floyd as some great person. I don't know him, and he did have an extensive criminal history. But if you can say those things about George Floyd, then you're fair game. You are not above reproach just because you passed on. People don't have to act like they liked you. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I have a very balanced approach where I see a lot of people that are celebrating him and saying he was a man of God, and I'm like, either you guys agree with the bullshit he was saying, or you have not seen everything he has said.
I think that there might be some people on that side, though. I do think that there, because I don't think that every person that voted for Trump is like racist. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Some of that shit is just policy shit.
Yeah, and I also think that there are some people that looked at Charlie Kirk as a person, because we got the Spark Notes, like we got the 5-minute clip of him just saying the craziest stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think that there were people out there that just liked him, and he just aligned with their beliefs about politics, especially like super right leaning stuff. But even with that, like, we have to take people for everything they've done.
Absolutely.
What I mean? For all the things he said in totality. So
yeah, when you die, your book is exposed. Your life is a book. It's a culmination or just a big mix of everything that you've said and done in your life, and people get to review it, because that's when your life slows down, because it's no longer in process or no longer in progress. So here's the thing. Even my father, my father passed away a few years ago, and I love my father. But when you get to sit back and review your parents or a passing member of your family, their life, you're objectively still going to have some things you absolutely disagree with. And if I could look at my dad, my own father, and see some things that I'm like, I'm not too king of that. I love my dad, but he should have did better at this, or whatever the case. If I can look at my own father and say that, then we can look at Charlie Kirk. Okay, if you could look at George Floyd and say that too, because what I seen as well is when Candace Owens came out and spoke about Ahmaud Arbery and said he was more than a jogger. He was doing something he should have not been doing. Turns out he didn't do anything wrong. He was just minding his business, and those men got convicted of a hate crime.
Yeah.
So she was out there just running her mouth. I thought that was highly irresponsible of Candace Owens to do that shit, especially. Yeah. I'm not saying you need to be on somebody's side because they're black, because he was a black man. I'm not saying that, because right is right and wrong is wrong. But when you're almost digging for something and you know that your base is allowing you to say this stuff, you got to be careful. I think that especially over the last decade, the left and the right have been going back and forth, and they've been, instead of having good faith conversations, it's been you ever seen the videos that pop up on YouTube? I purposely don't click on them. It'll be like, so-and-so on the left owns conservative, or so-and-so owns a liberal. Have you seen those before? where it's like so-and-so owns, like, it's not about owning people. It's about having discourse and having nuance and actually finding a common ground. But we don't have that anymore. We got a bunch of soap opera type politics, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't even like, me personally, I do my absolute best to not have politically based conversations. Because it's weird. It gets real weird. I had a conversation with this dude one time. I was fueling up after work. I was putting some fuel in the truck. And I was just having a conversation with this older man, this older white dude. We're just having a basic, regular conversation. It was a good convo. And at the end, he was like, hey, man, make sure you vote for Trump, man. He's for us. You got to make sure you vote for Trump. And I'm like, how did, and by the way, I don't care if it was a fucking liberal that said this, but why do you think it's appropriate to tell me who I should vote for based on a conversation we had that had nothing to do with politics? Is that where we are? Where everything we do is oversaturated by politics? Let me get a large fry and a large drink. Oh, I don't want that fucking liberal Pepsi. I'll stick with Coca-Cola. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people, man? Like, that shit is crazy to me, bro. You know, dude, I swear to God, my right-handed God, I'm not playing. Yesterday, I was at Walmart, right? And I had a conversation with this older white dude. And he was much older. He had to be like, I think he told me he was 76, right? And we were talking about, like, the cereal aisle. I said, here's some cereal right here. It's pretty low sugar. And his wife was like, yeah, I can't really have much sugar. I was like, yeah, this has only got 3 grams. It's like keto friendly. She's like, oh, my God, thank you. And he had a big old MAGA hat on. I just talked to him like normal. I wasn't like, oh, he's wearing a fucking MAGA hat. I'm not talking to this guy.
Yeah.
I just talked to him. We had a good conversation, and I walked off, and he said, God bless you, and that was it.
But that's the thing, though. Like, that's why the internet is so dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Because they would make it seem like you two are supposed to, like, have a fist fight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my wife's grandpa is, like, a super conservative. You know what I mean? Like, he got Trump, you know, go-karts and, like, the hats and, you know, Donald Trump 2020, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's how he is. But he ain't never, you know, been disrespectful to me or demeaning to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how it is. So I think that as much as, like, the internet likes to, like, I think some of the politicians say divisive things, but I think that everything is exacerbated on the internet. Absolutely. But I also think that there is a world where, like, you know, like we were at my wife's niece's birthday party, and they had a Blue Lives Matter flag inside of the garage, and her dad, whom is a black man, is standing right next to it, you know, and they're just talking and having a good time. So I think that, like, some of these, like, symbols are, you know, they are what they are, but at the end of the day, like, they don't mean we got to be at war and, like, killing each other. Like, we could talk about cereal in the aisle at the grocery store and be perfectly fine. So, yeah, I think that some of it is, like, justified because there are, like, some very rabid people out there, but then some of it is just, like, internet stuff that, you know, people overblow and they make it more serious than it actually is in real life. So,
yeah. And also, I'll say this too before we move on, is like the lack, people respected his opinion and whatnot, and some of the things he was saying. But there are other people, you know, typically people on the left get called snowflakes, and sometimes they definitely be snowflakes. But I think that it's looking real snowflakey on the right with this one. It says the State Department suggests revoking visas of people who comment on Charlie Kirk's death. That is wild. That's wild. That's not free speech. That's a dictatorship. You cannot sit there and say, hey, if you don't say nice things about Charlie Kirk, we're going to reverse your fucking visas. I don't think Charlie Kirk would agree with that. I don't think Charlie Kirk would agree with shit like this.
I think Charlie Kirk is very for, like, whatever he's for.
Yep.
So I don't think that he would be against it.
No,
me personally. I don't. Yeah,
really?
I don't. Yeah, I don't. DEI is like, it's a.
So he's not for inclusion. So he probably would be for this.
No, I just think that, like, I don't think that he really stands on, like, whatever the law is. I think he just stands on whatever he thinks is right, you know. And I could imagine a world where, I mean, he's gone now, so it's kind of hard to say.
Okay, this guy, Christopher Landau, said this. He posted this on X. He said, in the light of yesterday's horrific assassination of a leading political figure, I want to underscore that foreigners who glorify violence and hatred are not welcome visitors to our country. I have been disgusted to see some of the social media praising, rationalizing, or more making light. What did it say? Let me see what he says. He finishes. Praising, rationalizing, making light of the event, and have directed our consular officials to undertake appropriate action. Please feel free to bring such comments by foreigners to my attention so that the state can protect the American people. First of all, what metric have you used to determine if people are from here or not? That's my question. You want to get rid of foreigners and restrict visas. So do you think that like, I can't imagine people from other countries coming here and just doing this. Is this just projection? Because how are you looking at something on the internet and you're saying, oh,
all of them are not American citizens?
Like, how are you coming up with this?
Yeah.
Like, this is projection. This is not something that should even be taken seriously. There are a lot of American citizens that did not agree with Charlie Kirk. You should just assume they're Americans.
The one that shot him is an American citizen.
Yeah, and is a white kid, 22 years old.
This is what I would say. I think one, like when I first heard about this, it was like the middle of my day at work.
Right.
Like during lunchtime is when I heard about it. So the way our classrooms are set up, there's like a pod. There's like 4 classrooms, and then there's this pod that kind of joins all of the back doors of all the classrooms. So I walk out, and I usually use my one of my coworkers' microwaves. So I walk out, and I asked to use his microwave so I could warm up my lunch. And I walk out, and he's leaving one of the other classrooms. Like my neighbor is leaving another one of the classrooms in the pod. And he's like, "You're a sick man. You're a sick man." And I'm thinking he's like joking. Like, maybe Eddie say something on the phone that may be a little edgy. It's kind of like, I probably wouldn't say that, but I would say something in that tone, like, "Dang, you crazy." That's kind of how it sounded to me. And then he comes over to me and he says basically, I'm not even gonna tell the story because I feel like somebody could get fired. So essentially, what he said was, he said some disparaging things about Trump, and then he said some disparaging not my neighbor, but the other person he was calling a sick man. He said some disparaging things about Charlie Kirk, and I was like mind blown. Like, wow, like why would you, like, how could you say something like that and be okay? So that's like how it was presented to me. But for me, it kind of you've seen both sides of it. You've seen somebody that was a very strong Charlie Kirk supporter, and then you've seen somebody that just didn't really is an extreme, like I wouldn't even call him a liberal, but they just didn't like Charlie Kirk or Donald Trump. And you see both sides of it. And me, I'm like the person who's the only minority in the situation. And I'm like, yo, like both of y'all is kind of like, one, this dude is getting ready to cry because Charlie Kirk is dead. And then the other one is just like, just don't care at all. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like the kind of middle person in it. That's just like, one, I don't think what he said was okay by any means. Like, I would never say that about somebody that
absolutely not
has just died. And then, two, once you do your due diligence, then you just like, you neutral about it. You know what I mean? I just don't. I'm not sad over the situation. I think that, obviously he left behind 2 kids and stuff like that, which is, they didn't ask to be brought in this world, and now they're growing up without a father. So, and there's something to be said about that, as far as his comments about, the black community. But all these things, I just think that there's a lot to be said about the energy that you put out into the world. And I think that when we speak, at least for me, the reason why, you can't really compare Charlie Kirk to anybody else is because, and I don't know all of his work. I've never sat down and listened to like an hour of his commentary with college students or whatever. And some of it might be like conducive to, making America better or whatever the case may be. But you have to take everything that everybody says, and it all matters, you know. So for him to be saying some of these things that are disparaging about the black community and George Floyd and all these other things, and DEI and black women, talking about Michelle Obama and all these things, all that stuff matters, man.
It does.
And I think that one other thing that I would say is, I think it was Nancy Pelosi, somebody that came out and they were just like, the Democrats are owning this. We're taking ownership of it. One, that doesn't even mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Like, a political party cannot take ownership of a death. That just sounds stupid.
No.
And then two, it was too soon to know what actually happened.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, like some people, like, they're trying to like make, you know, certain things, they're giving answers before, you know, the test is given. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was too soon to know what was happening at all. Like, that man could have been cheating on somebody's wife, and then, you know, that was their response to it. You know what I mean? Like,
know.
we didn't even know at that time.
Yeah.
And then when more information comes out, we find out that, you know, one, it was a white man. You know, there was a lot of people that were, you know, possibly thinking the person was a minority liberal, or, you know, things like that. Then we find
they thought it was probably a black lesbian or
trans, something like that. But then we find out it was a white man. Then we find out that the man comes from a conservative family. You know what I mean? So all of these things were taking place and being unfolded. If you were just able to sit back and send your condolences to him and his family, and just wait till the information comes out. You know what I mean? Even the police were saying, like, hey, we're doing our due diligence. We've interviewed a couple people. We ask that you, the public, don't react. You know, let us do our job, and then we'll handle it from there.
And here's something I want to leave people with here, too. I think that the messaging that you put out on your platform is very important, because some people will feel emboldened to do certain things based on how they perceive you. So let's say, for example, me and Keith had a certain amount of followers that were like very misogynistic, right? So extremely misogynistic. They hated women, and that was like our main base. But at the same time, me and Keith claim to like not hate women. Mm-hmm. It's hard to make that claim when the vast majority of people who support you feel that way, because your messaging is very important. So with that being said, protesters in Surf City in Huntington Beach. Let me read this here. And this literally, this just happened right after he passed. Huntington Beach, California has been a long bastion for conservative ideology. This sounds very liberal. Whoever wrote this is definitely biased. But yeah, so I don't want to read any more of that. You see how I could be objective and I could see the liberal or conservative bias in an article and stop myself? Mm-hmm. Most people don't have that. They don't. But what literally happened is they said, I'll just play the video and shut my mouth.
White man fight back! White man fight back! White man fight back! White man fight back! White man fight back!
Bro, that sound like the 1890s.
So in Huntington Beach,
what the heck?
A neo-Nazi rally erupted in honor of Charlie Kirk's death. They're chanting "White man fight back." So
how many people was there?
It was a good showing.
Dang.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
One of them good old lynchings back in the day.
So this is what we have to understand, okay? People saying he was far from a racist, he was far from this and that. I just don't know why racist, actual neo-Nazis would show up in that big of a number to celebrate and to say they need to fight back. This is when things get dangerous. There's a lot of like pundits that have targets on their back, especially left wing, like the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, people like that. They need to ramp up their security. And then HBCUs were on lockdown because they were getting death threats. Like literally, black people had nothing to do with this shit.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I
just think what it is there are people that they have confirmation bias. But here's the problem with confirmation bias. In this case, there's nothing to confirm. Like there's nothing that was confirmed by like black, brown, whatever people. The shooter was a white guy. It had nothing to do with anybody black.
You just had to wait, 2 days?
No, not even 2 days. Maybe a day and some change.
Yeah.
And it's like
got your answer.
It's wild. I just think that there's like these situations, the people that already hate people that already hate somebody based on their ethnicity, they just need anything.
I think the black thing was a stretch would say like if I was doing my due diligence, I would think that a liberal was the person that did the shooting.
It would seem that way.
But then again, you just gotta do the process. You know what I mean? Like check the cameras and do all these different things, and you'll get your answer.
I just think it would be extremely hypocritical though if it was a liberal person that did the shooting and a bunch of liberals were like chanting and happy about it, that they're going against their own fight at that point.
Yeah,
like
but I mean,
you talk about gun violence and needing to properly vet people and things of that nature, and your talking point is like we need to get rid of guns, and you turn around and clap and shout when somebody gets shot. That's extremely hypocritical.
Yeah, I think, but like I think, anybody that's like a staunch like Democrat or Republican, they're like multi-layered, right? So they can. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying like, it is what it is. Like somebody can celebrate like the CEO dying, but then also be against gun violence. That's just how people move. So I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying
you're right.
That's just what people do.
You're right, because we talked about that CEO that passed, and I said this: I'm not celebrating. I had pretty much the same stance. I'm not celebrating his death at all. But that guy had literal blood on his hands. Charlie Kirk, the biggest difference: Charlie Kirk didn't kill anybody. He didn't have any blood on his hands. He had some opinions that I thought were shit opinions, but he didn't have blood on his hands. That CEO did. He denied life-saving surgeries, life-saving coverages, things of that nature that affected the outcome of people's lives. And what happened to him is just what happens to the people that he denies. And United Healthcare has the most denied claims. So it's like, hey man, at the end of the day, you can't expect empathy or sympathy when your whole business is to take money from people and not even give them the care that they fucking need. That's a whole, and honestly, liberals and conservatives was on the same page. They wasn't like out here crying for that nigga. And I'm not saying if people did, they was weird, because some people have empathy for human life in general.
That's also one thing that Charlie Kirk didn't believe. He didn't believe in empathy.
Yeah, he said that.
Thought it was like a buzzword. So
yeah,
I think that it's okay not to feel empathy for Charlie Kirk, because he don't believe in it at all.
In his words, that's what Charlie Kirk would want for all of us.
The last thing I'll say about this, because I'm tired of talking about Charlie Kirk, is that I feel like if you are a person that has a platform or trying to grow a platform, or you just speak in a space where it's recorded in any capacity, I think it's very important to speak life into that microphone or that camera, because it's everything is recorded, and it doesn't really, it matters partially what you say, but the most important thing is how whatever you say is interpreted, right? So if you think that your message is to uplift America, but most people interpret it as like an empowering neo-Nazis, then there's a problem there. And it does, like I said, it doesn't matter what you say. So for me and myself, like, I'm waking up every day trying to like better myself and, uplift people around me. I don't say disparaging things. What the heck?
Damn. This nigga throat queef. God damn.
Throat queef is disgusting.
Jeez, man. Oh my God.
But yeah, I don't say disparaging things about any community. I'm not trying to twist no rhetoric. I'm not trying to downplay no community. I'm not trying to talk bad about no law that's helping anybody else. That's not how I move. And also, I'm very mindful of the things that come out of my mouth. So you got to think, the last thing that man said was gang violence.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, you just want to be mindful of the things that you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. And dang it, I had a point to make at the end, but I think I'm gonna just have to wrap this thing up.
All right.
Yep. Let's go ahead and switch gears, and we'll wrap this up with this last topic here. Switching gears. Fox News host Brian Kilmeade apologizes for suggesting lethal injection for the homeless. Let me go ahead and run this TikTok real quick.
Crawford could find people to fight like Canelo.
Hold on.
billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
I mean, that's dangerous messaging. You have to understand, we just got through talking about Charlie Kirk. And we talked about, the neo-Nazis that were saying, white man, fight back. Here's the thing. If he was not racist, right, why do racists feel so comfortable supporting him? There had to be some type of messaging there that made them feel welcome. Mm-hmm. So here's the deal. When people are watching your program and you say, yeah, we need to do lethal injection. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to suggest that human beings that are displaced or that are homeless should just be dead. Those are people you talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's like a sociopath style conversation.
That's I wouldn't even call that. That's like some dictatorship. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's like that type of.
They've already criminalized being homeless in places where if you're homeless, they wouldn't give you a ticket, which makes no fucking sense. I think that in the greatest nation,
that's like an overdraft fee.
Yeah, absolutely. You're overdrafting somebody that already doesn't have any fucking money. Like, how's the person going to pay you when they're already overdrafted? They're at a negative balance.
Their net worth is negative already. Like, what are you talking about?
Homeless people are a walking negative balance. And you want to kill them now? What do you get out of that, bro?
That is sick.
Yeah. That's sick when you think about it. It's so fucked up. They're at a net zero, and you want to kill them. Like that's and here's the thing: he didn't get fired. He just apologized, bro. We've reached a very dangerous time where people think like that and just say it. It's crazy how two guys out of Bakersfield, California, two younger men with a podcast platform don't say shit like that. Like, we don't have dangerous messaging. If we say something like funny or wild, it's clear that it's satirical, that it's satire, and that we don't mean it. Like, we would hope that you would be able to think for yourself enough to not take those. That's like us saying, hey, everybody listen to this podcast. Go out somewhere tonight and have unprotected sex.
Yeah, this is a total tangent. I remember one time Kanye West was on an interview and he was trying to like flex. Like, this was a time where he was going on those rants all like to Breakfast Club and everywhere.
Yeah.
And he was like, this was the How Sway era.
Okay.
And he was like, all right, you think I don't got no power? Everybody stop going to Louis Vuitton right now. And it was like, he was literally just talking into a microphone. And he was just expecting like everybody to be such Kanye West stans that they was just gonna stop going to a store because he said it on.
It's like, what the fuck is your problem?
I don't know.
You know the problem with Kanye West is not enough people told him to shut the fuck up. Because here's the problem: people that were probably around Kanye, they had like a motive, like they wanted something from by being around him, trying to get on the music industry or something like that. But a guy like me that's just walking down the street, or let's say I'm like, somehow I'm in the studio somewhere, or I'm neutral to Kanye West and he can't affect my career, I'd be like, hey, man, I got love for you, bro, but you got to know when to shut the fuck up. Because nobody's correcting you because you control the outcome of their lives. It's like, you need people around you that don't care about you telling them, you know what? I'm going to come and fire you if you don't shut your mouth. I'm a genius. It's like, bro. You may be a great producer. You've made some some super iconic music, but that time has came and went. Now you're just a nut job. That's all you do. You are a full-time nut job now.
Yeah. I
expect things from you on X or, formerly Twitter, whatever, that are like weird or like, like manic.
Yeah.
Like manic tweets, like whatever. But but as far as the homeless go, man, homeless people, it goes without saying, they're human beings. It doesn't matter if they're talking to themselves, if they're dirty, if they're nasty. That's somebody's mom. That's somebody's sister. That's somebody's niece. Remember that shit. Remember that before you say we need to do he said Let's see what he said verbatim.
I think it sounds like I think he said non-lethal.
No, he said like let's go back one quick time. I just want to.
Anybody can.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something.
That's crazy. Involuntary lethal injection. To make that, to say that. Can you imagine like a world where like you're homeless? Let's just kill him. Yeah. Oh my God. You have such a skewed view on homelessness. Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy about homelessness? Is there are people who've been interviewed and they find out that the rich history of these people. There are people who were worth $4, $5, $12 million in the 80s, and now they're living behind a trash can at a hotel. And they get the IDs on these guys. There was a dude that was he was the shortest guy in military history. He was under 5 foot tall, and he was a homeless man, but he was like really like quiet. And then there was a dude that used to just like see him and talk to him. And then he ended up getting that guy's story. Ultimately, he didn't get that guy's full story until he died. And when he died, he found all that guy's military service, and he was a fucking, what do you call it? He had a high rank. Mm-hmm. And there was literally like newspaper clippings of him being the shortest like captain. I forgot what his rank was, but he was a very high ranking soldier. Mm-hmm. And, he ended up being homeless, or what do you call it? A transient. Mm-hmm. And you would never know. You might look at this guy and say, oh, just get this weirdo out of here, this little short weirdo. But that guy fought for this country. Right. And look how you're treating him. So if you say just kill him, can you imagine if people went along with the whole narrative like, yeah, involuntary lethal injection sounds fine, and you end up killing a fucking war hero that fought for this country? Just because you don't understand homelessness so bad, and you have such a lack of empathy for someone that's not living in a home, that you want to kill him? Like, I can't even wrap my mind. Like, when I see homeless people, bro, the way I look at them is this. It's like, bro, if I had the resources, if there was a way that I could help these people, I would. Mm-hmm. But I don't know their individual situation. A lot of them don't want your help. They just want maybe some money for the day. Yeah,
it's a big problem that is not really my job to solve.
No,
but
we didn't create it.
I still the same way I don't want Charlie Kirk to be dead is the same way I don't want homeless people to just die because they're homeless.
Yeah, that is beyond insane. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I think it's safe to say we could wrap this thing up, man. Hey guys, if you made it to the end of this episode, we genuinely appreciate you. Thank you for listening to our Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Things.
We're out of here.
Peace.